Let's work on this one here, centered icon, and then we'll see how much we get into featured list. And so for centered icon, I'm just going to copy this, paste it, 08, centered icon. And then the instructions, we'll change that image in a second. Let me just make sure the instructions here are what they should be. I think I finished those out. Welcome to that. That looks good. And then the solution, we have our index, and we're going to have source files here in a second. So I need to go to Font Awesome cheat sheet, and I need to find a phone. And there's a phone, but that's not the one I want. Microphone, I like microphone, but there's the phone. Right? Copy that. Command C. Illustrator. I say we should listen to some Beastie Boys. And then a new artboard. 100 by 100. Paste it in there. Change my font to Font Awesome. Cool. Let's make it bigger. Hold down Shift to constrain proportions. Make sure that I have room. If I'm going to have a stroke added, I don't go off the edge and then it, we'll crop it out later. I got to have a little room around my SVG. So now I'm going to save this. And I will put it in centered icon, solution, source files, and this is phone. And that's just the Adobe Illustrator file. Now I'm going to save as SVG and phone and also put that in there. And you could, if you're watching this video, these are the settings you want. Those automatically pop up for me. Make a note of them, take a screenshot of them, and then I'd save that, so I'm done with Illustrator. So now I could come into my source files. I could get rid of Smile, that's from the previous example. And I could open up Phone SVG. I want to clean up all this crap. Get rid of all the grouping elements, don't need those, just adding noise. And get rid of XML and that, and I want my SVG version 1.1. I don't need layer, I do need this, or I don't need the ID, and don't need that, do want that. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for. I'm going to copy this path and then go into here and just paste it. And it's not going to be Smile, it's going to be Phone. And the view box is 0, 0, 100, 100, 0, 0, 100, 100. Cool, because I had the same size as before. And then I'm going to access my phone. And I can look at this. Previous example, now I've got my phone up there. Nice color, cool. And so the next deal that I want to do is just have the phone, because that's what this challenge is about, is just to center an icon. So not much of a challenge, but then we're going to have a circle around it. Okay, so we want our phone to be in some sort of a container, and then I have to start thinking, well, which element am I going to use for my container? And does this have any specific functionality? Phone's probably going to be pushed, a button. So I think, well, maybe button. Maybe button's the right one here. And so you can take out the H1 and the H2, and, well, what the heck, button. Just take this part and put it up here. All right, now my page is going to be all screwball. Not too bad, though. Interesting the way it turned out. And so now I could start going in and tweaking on the CSS. And I could put this on so I could, I could see things, what's where. And HTML, I'm setting a font size for the whole document, so overriding the browser default, and setting a color. I could check that color against, don't need that anymore, don't need that anymore. I could check it against this one here. Well, that's not looking very centered. I can inspect. And BCD 2DA, that's the color they've used for that. And so I can maybe set that there. HTML body button, I don't have a div H1, so I could take those out. Padding, border, turn that off so I could see border if I need it. Margin, so it's a little bit of a reset. I do have a div, sorry. And that's going to give me perfect above the fold content. And then this is going to take everything that's in the ATF container and flex direction, I don't need that, it's just row now. So that centers it horizontally, that centers it vertically. I don't need padding at the bottom. I might turn that back on in a second just to shift things up a touch, because people respond better to things when you're trying to center something. Visually, it's better if it's a little off center towards the top. I don't know why. That's what I learned somewhere once. I don't need H1. I don't need H2. I'm going to have to style the button. And this will be the phone. And so this is kind of like the global things where the width and height now takes on the size of the parent font, right? It's interesting. And vertical align, that's just something the guy that we read that article. And then current color, the fill. So we have stroke and fill. Stroke is the border, fill is like the background color. Fill will be the current color. So the current color is who knows what, because we have button here, so that changed the color. So we don't need that color in button. And we don't need background color. And then overflow hidden. And then finally we have an icon smile. We're going to change that to icon phone. And change this one to icon phone. Classes. And we'll take that color out. And font size, we'll make the phone a certain size. And margin bottom, we don't need that. So we're pretty reset here. And so the way this looks is it's a blue phone and it's background color white. So the button is let's take these off. Background color white, and then border. I'm going to take this border off up here. So that's the everything border. And so there's my border, but I think the border is more of a, well, we can inspect that element. And border radius 100%, box shadow. So here's how they're getting that shadow. I'm not going to try to recreate that. Just copied all that. So general idea, we've got that shadow a little bit now. But the color on theirs is border 1 pick solid, there's their color. And I'm going to change mine to rims. And we're at like what? Maybe 20 rim. Let's see what that looks like. But the phone color is not right. It should be that bluish color. So the button background color, border, width, that's because buttons have already set look and style to them. And I've taken color out of here, so icon's getting current color, which is button. And so in the button, I actually have to set this color. So it doesn't do any good there. But in the button, I set it. So box shadow, you could read about that. Or I could read about it, but obviously there's some wacky settings there. 0, 2 pix, 1 pix, RGBA, 0, 0, 0, 0.05. And you can see that there's some, those are all black with 50% transparency. And there's a left, I don't know what box shadow is, but you can see the colors right there in WebStorm. It's kind of cool. You want to read about box shadow for a second? Anybody? Shadow effects, and it's offset X, offset Y color. Box shadow, offset X, offset Y color. So XY, offset X, offset Y. And then blur radius if there's 4 entries. So we got 3. We have this one, and then we have this one, and then we have this one. 3 entries. What's it mean when there's a comma? Any number of shadows separated by commas. So there's a couple of shadows there. So offset X, offset Y, and color. Offset X, offset Y, blur radius, 1 pixel, and color. So just out of curiosity, we'll make this red. So red is 255, and we'll make it 1. And we'll do offset 100 pixel. Okay, we'll see what the X offset does. So moved along the X-axis. And we could switch that back to what it was. And we could do 200 pixels, Y-axis. And we could do blur radius. Right? So this was originally 2 pixels, which is like that with a 1 pixel blur radius. Right now, if we did like a 30 pixel blur radius, we get more fuzz. Might be the hover or the depressed state. And we'll put this back to 0.05. Was it 0.05 or 0.5? There we go, 0.05. I like it. How's it scale? Good. Because I did everything with, I set the container element, right, the whole page to be responsive to viewport width, which, again, production, you can't use that yet. It's only 80% of browsers. And then everything else is M's or rims. So it's looking, except for the shadow. And that border right there. So now that I have that done, get status, get add -- all, get commit -m, adds centered icon example, get push. But before you do this, do this. You'd be like, okay, I've had 1,112, and today I had 3. Now I push, and I refresh. 4. 1,113. And last thing I'd want to do is, if I was just doing this on my own, is I'd get a screenshot of this page. And then I would go here.